You think fear is something that happens inside you? It isn't. The moment you feel it, your body broadcasts it. A chemical signal leaking out through your skin, a shift in your scent you will never consciously smell. You think you're hiding it. To the animal in the room, you're shouting. Most people assume animals sense fear through behavior, a flinch, a frozen posture. The truth is stranger. They were reading you before you moved at all. Let me explain what actually leaves your body when you're afraid. Fear is not a thought, it is a chemical event, and it begins before you're aware of it. The instant your brain registers a threat, it floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate climbs, your breathing shifts, and a specific set of sweat glands switches on. The apocrine glands concentrated in your armpits, different from the ones that cool you down. These glands don't just release water. They release a cocktail of compounds whose exact chemistry changes depending on what you're feeling. Afraid and calm don't just feel different inside you. They smell different coming off you, and you have no conscious control over any of it. The signal is written and sent before the thinking part of your brain is even consulted. This is the part most people get wrong. They assume an animal reads fear off your face, your posture, the way you move. Those things matter, but underneath them is a layer you can't manage, can't fake, and can't feel. A scent that says exactly what state you're in. And some animals are built to read it with unsettling precision. Start with dogs. At the University of Naples, Federico II, researchers collected sweat from people in 2 states. Terrified and happy, they sealed the samples. Then they let dogs smell them, with no person attached to the scent, no face, no body language, nothing but the chemistry in a container. The dogs that smelled fear sweat showed measurably higher heart rates. They displayed more stress behaviors. And they did something telling. They sought out their owners, moving closer to them, the way a frightened animal moves towards safety. The dogs weren't reacting to a scared human in front of them. There was no human. They were catching fear the way you'd catch a smell of smoke and responding as if the danger were their own. But here's where it gets harder to dismiss. The obvious objection is that the dog was just reading the room, picking up on tense people nearby. So researchers ran a version that removed the human entirely, shielding the dogs from any live person while they encountered the scent. The fear signal still landed. The dogs lingered closer to the experimenter, held their tails lower, hesitated longer before approaching. The scent alone was enough. Strip away every other cue, leave only the chemistry, and the message still arrives intact. But here's the objection that should still be nagging at you. Dogs are a special case. We spent more than 10,000 years breeding them to read us, to watch our faces, track our moods, love us. Of course, they can smell our fear. We practically built them to. So the real test of whether your fear is truly broadcasting isn't an animal that adores you. It's an animal that has every reason to want nothing to do with you, which brings us to horses. Horses are prey animals. Their entire nervous system is built around detecting threat and fleeing it, and we are to them a potential predator. In France, researchers fitted horses with pads carrying human sweat collected from volunteers watching a horror film, fear pressed into cotton and held beneath the animal's nostrils. The horses exposed to human fear became measurably more reactive. They startled harder at sudden events. Their maximum heart rates spiked higher, and they pulled back from the very people trying to interact with them, touching them less, trusting them less. The fear of a stranger they'd never met, captured hours earlier in a dark room, changed how a 1,000-pound animal decided whether you were safe to stand near. Think about what that means. A signal you didn't choose to send, that you can't smell yourself, is altering the behavior of an animal that has already decided you might be dangerous. You walk up calm, you do everything right, and the residue of an old fear, still clinging to you, tells the horse otherwise. Then there is the finding that doesn't sit with the others, the one that suggests this goes far deeper than any single frightening moment. At Linköping University in Sweden, researchers measured long-term stress in dogs and their owners, not through behavior, but through cortisol stored in hair, which records stress levels over months. They studied 58 dog and owner pairs, and the levels were synchronized. Owners carrying high chronic stress had dogs carrying high chronic stress. Low matched low. The researchers concluded it was the dogs mirroring the humans, not the reverse. This isn't a dog catching a flash of fear and flinching. This is a dog slowly absorbing the background dread of a life it shares with you, until your stress becomes a measurable feature of its body. Your worst year is written into your dog in a way you can read in a lab. So the answer to whether animals know when you're scared is yes, but not the way you imagined. They don't read your mind. They read your chemistry. The fear leaves your body before you decide to hide it. The dog smells it in a sealed container with no one attached. The prey animal startles at the ghost of a stranger's terror pressed into cloth. The companion sleeping at your feet carries the cortisol of your hardest months in its own bloodstream. Every one of these is the same fact arriving from a different direction. The state you think is private is being broadcast continuously, and something nearby is always listening. And this is the part that's genuinely strange to sit with. You spend your life believing your inner state is yours, sealed behind your skin, revealed only when you choose to reveal it. It isn't. To the animal beside you, you are not opaque. You are a signal, leaking constantly, narrating a feeling you may not even know you're having. The dog at your feet might know you're afraid before you do. What the science can map is the mechanism, the gland, the compound, the heart rate, the cortisol in the hair. What it can't reach is the other side of it, whether the animal that catches your fear simply registers a data point and adjusts, or whether something passes between you in that moment that neither of you has a word for. Whether being read that completely by something that isn't trying to judge you is a kind of exposure, or a kind of company. The signal goes out either way. You'll never smell it. But the next time an animal goes still and turns to look at you for no reason you can name, consider that it might already know something about you that you were trying very hard to keep to yourself. If this one stayed with you, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.